चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले संरूपकथामय्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागररघुनाथं भक्तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सागरगोता श्रीशाखान्वितंश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामने गौरप्रशे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशाय गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे 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 share my screen. We will recite the shlokas maybe from tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, so today who will want to read? Someone. Okay, let's go. Yeah. So we'll start with setting the scene. You can read a bit fast because you have to read a lot today.
Okay, bro. Should I start?
Yes, yes, yes.
Setting the scene. Although widely published and read by itself, Bhagavad Gita originally appears as an episode in the Mahabharata, the epic Sanskrit history of the ancient world. The Mahabharata tells of the events leading up to the present age of Kali. It was at the beginning of this age, some 50 centuries ago, that Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to his friend and devotee Arjuna. This discourse, one of the greatest philosophical and religious dialogue known to man, took place just before the onset of war. A great fratricidal conflict between the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and, on the opposing side, their cousins, the Pandavas, or the sons of Pandu.
Okay. So yeah, 50 centuries means 50 into 100, 5,000 years ago. Great philosophical and religious dialogue. So philosophical in general means it speaks about the truths of life. Bhagavad Gita speaks about purpose of life, death, what is our identity, original identity, all these things. And religious means Bhagavad Gita also tells how to worship God. Generally, religious means generally it means for material things. Also, it includes spiritual. Spiritual mainly means like how to detach from the material world and how to pursue the higher truths. That is more spiritual. Okay. And fratricidal means within the family. If there is a conflict within the family, that means okay. Yes, bro, you can come on. Continue.
Dhrita-
Dhritarashtra.
Dhritarashtra and Pandu were brothers born in the Kuru dynasty, descending from the king Bharata, a former ruler of the earth, from whom the name Mahabharat derives. Because the because Dhritarashtra, the elder brother, was born blind, the throne that otherwise would have been his was passed down to the younger brother Pandu. When Pandu died at an early age, his five children, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev, came under the care of Dhritarashtra, who in effect became, for the time being, the king. Thus, the sons of Dhritarashtra and those of Pandu grew up in the same royal household. Both were trained in the military arts by the expert Drona and counseled by the revered grandfather of the clan, Bhishma. Yet the sons of Dhritarashtra, especially the eldest, Duryodhana, hated and envied the Pandavas. And the blind and the weak minded Dhritarashtra wanted his own sons, not those of Pandu, to inherit the kingdom. Thus, Duryodhana, with Dhritarashtra's consent, plotted to kill the young sons of Pandu, and it was only by the careful protection of their uncle Vidura, their cousin Lord Krishna, that the Pandavas escaped the many attempts against their lives. Now, Lord Krishna was not an ordinary man, but the supreme god himself, who had descended to the earth and was playing the role of a prince in a contemporary dynasty. In this role, he was also the nephew of Pandu's wife, Kunti or Pritha, the mother of the Pandavas. So, both as a relative and as the eternal upholder of the religion, Krishna favored the righteous sons of Pandu and protected them.
Yeah, just a minute. Yeah,
Ulti-
so this is all self-explanatory. This is just building the background in which the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna took place, where Bhagavad Gita is spoken. So this story, like most of you must be knowing also. Yeah. Yes, bro, you can continue.
Ultimately, however, the clever Duryodhana challenged the Pandavas to a gambling match. In the course of that fateful tournament, Duryodhana and his brothers took possession of Draupadi, the chaste and devoted wife of the Pandavas, and insultingly tried to strip her naked before the entire assembly of princes and kings. Krishna's divine intervention saved her, but the gambling, which was rigged, cheated the Pandavas of their kingdom and forced them into the 13 years of exile.
Yeah, so two gambling matches happened. Like first, when they tried to disrobe Draupadi, so then Dhritarashtra comes to his senses, and then he asks forgiveness from Draupadi and asks her what she wants. So she tells, "Okay, you return the kingdom and free my husbands." So he does, but Duryodhana becomes afraid now. So now they will definitely take revenge on us, and so he again tricks Dhritarashtra to again invite Yudhishthir for another gambling match. So then Yudhishthir goes, and then he loses the kingdom, and then he goes for Anvas. Okay, continue. Upon return.
Upon returning from exile, the Pandavas rightfully requested their kingdom from Duryodhana, who bluntly refused to yield it. Duty bound as
As
princes, as princes to serve in public administration, the five Pandavas reduced their request to mere five villages. But Duryodhana arrogantly replied that he wouldn't spare them enough land into which to drive a pin. Throughout all this, the Pandavas had been consistently tolerant and forbearing, but now war seems inevitable. Nonetheless, as the prince of the world divided, some siding with the sons of Dhritarashtra, the others with the Pandavas, Krishna himself took the role of messenger of the sons of Pandu and went to the court of Dhritarashtra to plead for peace. When his pleas were refused, war was now certain. The Pandavas' men of the highest moral stature recognized Krishna to be the supreme personality of Godhead, whereas the impious sons of Dhritarashtra did not. Yet Krishna offered to enter the war according to the desire of the antagonists. As God, he would not personally fight, but whoever so desired might avail himself of Krishna's army, and the other side could have Krishna himself as an advisor and helper. Duryodhana, the political genius, snatched at Krishna's armed forces, while the Pandavas were equally eager to have Krishna himself. In this way, Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna, taking it upon himself to drive the fabled poor man's chariot. This brings us to the point at which Bhagavad Gita begins, with the two armies arrayed, ready for combat, and Dhritarashtra anxiously inquiring of his secretary Sanjaya, what did they do? The scene is set, with only the need for a brief note regarding this translation and commentary. The general pattern translators have followed in rendering Bhagavad Gita into English has been to brush aside the person Krishna to make room for their own concepts and philosophies. The history of the Mahabharata is taken as quaint mythology. And Krishna becomes a poetic device for presenting the ideas of some anonymous genius. Or at best, he becomes a minor historical personage. But the person Krishna is both the goal and the substance of Bhagavad Gita, so far as the Gita speaks to itself,
Yeah, just a minute. So
speaks of
I,
itself.
yeah, I'll show one such.
Probably nobody ever told you the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Probably no one ever told you why Krishna had to speak so much. And that's why I keep saying, please look at chapter 1. Then you will realize that the Gita is a rebellion, that the Gita is militating against something, that the Gita is not just contextless discourse of Gyan. There is a very clear contextual emergency, and this is the context. Arjun's blind beliefs and naive commitment to superstition, culture, tradition, that is what the Gita stands to destroy. Now, this is something that orthodox people will hate to hear, because to them even Krishna is a cultural symbol. They do not know the Gita. They just worship the stories around Krishna, right? So it will be very unpleasant to hear that the real purpose of Gita, as is evident from the verses themselves, is that you should not blindly believe in anything, that you must know who you are, you must know life before you talk.
Yeah, so this is one example. So his point is Gita means to know about who you are and what is life, but not about Krishna. Okay, yeah. Okay, continue this translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, your voice is not
Uh,
audible.
Hare
Vaikuntha
Krishna.
Bihari Das Prabhuji.
Yeah, just a minute.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, your voice is not
Yeah,
audible properly.
Hare Krishna. No, it's better. Hare Krishna.
It's coming slowly, Prabhuji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, your voice was less, but we could make it. So,
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I will see what is the problem with. Now, at least is it okay or not?
I'll apply earphones, Prabhuji.
No, I'm using earphones only.
Now it's okay, Prabhu.
Okay, take. Okay, Srikanth, you can continue this translation.
Yes, sir. This translation then and the commentary that accompanies it propose to direct the reader to Krishna rather than away from him. The Bhagavad Gita thus becomes wholly consistent and comprehensible. Since Krishna is the speaker of Gita and its ultimate goal as well, Bhagavad Gita as it is thus presents this great scripture in its true terms, the publishers.
Okay. Yeah, so it just explains the context in which the Gita is spoken, right? From the birth of the Pandavas, how initially Pandu was installed as king, and then because then Pandu leaves his body, so then Dhritarashtra becomes king, and he wants to have Kauravas, and the Kauravas wants to get rid of Pandavas. Then they send them to the forest. Then once they come back, they are not ready to give the kingdom, so then the war happens. Then yeah, this Bhagavad Gita as it is like what Krishna intended to do, that is presented, not the other, not something anonymous, some other opinion, etc. Okay, so now we'll read the preface and discuss some things. Okay, the first paragraph talks about the features. What are the features of this current Bhagavad Gita? Yes, bro, you can start originally.
Originally, I wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is in the form in which it is presented now. When this book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanations for most of the original verses of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In all of my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Ishopanishad, etc., the system is that I give the original verse in its English translation, word for word, Sanskrit English equivalents, translations, and purports. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self evident. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript. But later on, when the demand for Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with the full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively.
Okay, so if you see na, like to do word to word meanings, na, it takes time to do that and again to correct it also. Well, Srila Prabhupada understood that for the next 10,000 years, these books should be relevant and should be available for the people. So he has done that. Otherwise, without that, he could have finished Bhagavad Gita quite fast. But yeah, the benefits of word to word meanings are like, no, it helps in checking the correctness of the translation, and also it helps in memorizing the shloka also. Like if you know the uh, meaning of each word, then it is easy to uh, remember the shloka, because if you know the meaning, then the structure of the shloka is, you can make sense of it and you can remember it easily. And also you can contemplate on the shloka, and so that will help. Yeah, it is like it is told, Shrinvata Shraddhaya Nityam Granatah Swachestitam. So to do Manan, so if you know the meaning of the words of shloka, it becomes easy. And also sometimes if you have to translate the shloka in a way that is suitable for a particular context also, this word to word meaning will help. Like if there is goodness, sometimes mode of goodness, instead of that we may translate it as enlightened state, and passion we may translate it as materialistic state, ignorance we may translate as degraded state. So sometimes these terms goodness, passion, ignorance may be little foreign to some new people, so we can translate in these words. Means this is not for everyone, but that also it helps. Okay, now we can take some 3 minutes and you can think about what is the significance of purports, why purports are needed. Okay, then we will discuss. Okay. Okay, anyone else?
Can I
Okay.
speak, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, Shrikant Prabhu, you can tell.
Guruji, Vaikuntha Vihari Prabhu wanted to say.
Okay. Yes, yes. Yes,
You are
Vaikuntha.
asking about the significance of the this particular purpose, no?
Not particular, in general, why we need purports to shlokas?
To understand the shloka in a perfect way and to take the message, the lessons which we learn from it.
Okay, fine. Good points. Let's hear from others.
Thank you,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Shrikant Prabhu, you can tell.
One was that purports also give analogies and it also gives references from other scriptures where we understand the concept even better way. Topic.
Okay. Yes, who else? Okay. Yes, Sharad Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Many a times, just
Yeah, you're muted.
yes, Prabhuji. So many times it is difficult for us to understand if some certain shloka is spoken, what is the significance of that shloka and why these words are chosen. So in purport, these things become very clear that what is intention behind what Lord is speaking or what Arjuna is asking.
Yes, good points. Okay. Okay. Yes, Raj Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So as all Prabhuji said, so my points are same, but I have one another point. So the significance of purport is if somebody Acharya wrote the purport, so he wants to establish his philosophy as per Shastric way. So
Okay.
that's why all Acharya wrote their own purport. Like Shankaracharya also have purport, Prabhupada have purport, Madhvacharya also wrote the Gita, Gita Bhashya and all. So they want to establish their philosophy as per the Shastra.
Yes. Good. Thank you.
One more was that many times we feel that the verses are contradictory or something, and we also get questions. And those actually, whenever we get questions, we see that when we read purpose, those questions get answered.
Yes. Yeah, so purports are also meant to address any contradictions or objections by some other philosophers or from other traditional schools of thought. So they are also addressed in the purport. Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay. Yes, bro, you can. Yeah.
Should I continue? Authenticity of Gita and humility of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Our Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural, and transcendental due to its being based on Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, good. So this is a little very profound statement. We'll discuss it. So you can take again around some four minutes and tell how Krishna, like, because many of you hear Prabhupada lectures, read Prabhupada books. Prabhupada quotes many shlokas of Bhagavad Gita and supports the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So you can think and tell like how, just a minute. So you can think like what aspects of Krishna conscious philosophy are based on Bhagavad Gita. So primarily for a philosophy, so Sambandha, the major components are Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojan. Sambandha means what are we and what is our relationship with God, who is God. So that knowledge. Abhidheya means, okay, so now God is so and so. So what are the means to attain God? Hmm? So what is the process? And prayojana means, okay, what is our experience when we attain God? Hmm? So this is the three things. So how these things of Krishna consciousness are based on Bhagavad Gita. So you can quote the beginning of the shloka and say what aspect of Krishna conscious philosophy it is uh, supporting. You can think around for 4 minutes and then we'll discuss. For 5 minutes you can think. Okay, so Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, so who want? Okay. Okay, yes. Yes, Raj, Prabhu, you can tell.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So Krishna himself quoted so many verses in the Bhagavad Gita, like Mame Vansha Jeev Loke Jeev Bhuta Sama. This is the Sambandha.
Good.
Okay, okay. And Sarva Dharmam Parityajam, at the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Parityajam Mamekam Sharanam Raja. It's a prayojan. Leave
Not
all
Prayojan.
the
This
this
will
way.
be Abhideya.
Oh, sorry.
Hmm.
And uh, okay, Man Mana Mad Bad Bhakta Madhyajivan. There are lots of verse, and I find one more verse where Krishna mentioned about the devotees. It's 9.29. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshte na priya ye bhajante tu mam bhakta mai te teshu chapyam. Krishna said, I am never partial. I have no envy to anyone, but those who are worshipping me, I am a very great dearest friend to him.
Yeah, this will come more in Sambandha because this is about
Yeah.
the nature of the Lord. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Let's hear from others. Okay. Yeah, others also can tell which aspect of Krishna consciousness that verse is telling. Yes, Avatari Chaitanya.
So, Prabhu, there is yat karoshi yad ashnashi yat johoshi dadasyat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tad kurushva madarpanam. So, because we have a temple and we can center all our activities around the temple, this gives us a facility for doing everything in relationship with Krishna.
Yes, yes, yes. This is Abhideya. It is. Yes, please.
Yes, Prabhu. One more I can give, Prabhu.
Yes, yes, sure.
Prabhu, Madchitta Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam. Every morning we have Srimad Bhagavatam class. We have so many Bhagavatam classes. Also at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that Yaidam Paramam Koyam Mad Bhakteshu Abhidhasyati. So one who explains this science. So we have so many classes to explain Krishna consciousness. So
Yes, yes, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yes, Shrikant.
Yes, Prabhu, again for Abhideya only, like for offering food, uh, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, what we can offer. And I think, yes, worshipping the Lord Manmana Bhavat Bhakta Madhyaji, worshipping. What else we do is like, yeah, for all activities, we depend on Krishna Sarvadhanan Pratyajam Mamekam Sharanam Raja.
Yes, yes. Good.
Yes, Prabhu, and there might be some verses for being in goodness. That
Yeah,
is
they
what we
are
try in
all
our
support,
process.
but they will come under Abhideya.
Abhideya, yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you.
And for Prayojan, Prabhuji, goal is like Krishna, or to make Krishna as the goal. Or then Arjuna says that you are Param Dham, Pavitram Paramam. So about the Dham, Param Dham, right? Even Yad Gatvana Nivartante Tad Dhama Paramam.
Yes,
Go there
yes,
and never return back. Can that be Prayojan?
yes, yes. That will come under. Thank you.
Can I speak, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
प्रकृते क्रियमाणी गुणे कर्माणि सर्वस्व अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्ता हमति मन्यते.
Yeah, this will come under more in Sambandha. Okay.
Yes.
Your voice is not coming through.
I'm trying my best. Yes, Avatari Chetan Prabhu, you want to tell some more?
yes, Prabhu. Prabhu Yadnanam Japa Yadnyosmi and Sadatam Kirtayantamam. So
Yeah, Satatam Kirtan, that is base supporting Kirtan. Yes, good. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay, so
Can I speak one more, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu.
नैनम चिनंति शस्त्राणि नैनम दहति पावक न शोषे कुलिंद्याति.
Yes. Yeah. This will come under Sambandha.
It comes under Sambandh, yes.
Yeah, so again, here Prabhupada is saying that how genuine means because of being based on Bhagavad Gita, so the Krishna consciousness movement becomes genuine. So generally, for a genuine product, what we see, it's if it is standardized by ISO mark is there or not. That is one of the characteristics of being genuine. So similarly, for any philosophy, if it is based on scripture, Shastra, so then that is a mark of genuinity. Like Shastra provides a very detailed and deeper knowledge. Like Bhagavad Gita provides a very detailed and deeper knowledge about Krishna. So if you just say Krishna is God, okay, then what makes Krishna God? So then Bhagavad Gita tells like Krishna has these energies, uh, Krishna is the supreme controller, Krishna is the supreme proprietor, how Krishna is controlling the world. So all this description is there in Bhagavad Gita. So then one can appreciate that how Krishna can be God. Otherwise, if you just say Krishna is God, so you should just chant his name, it may not make sense, immediate sense. Yeah. And then Prabhupada is saying historically authorized. So another source of authenticity of a product is like who are authorizing it. Like people see, like if some celebrities are authorizing, saying that this product is very good, you should use it, something, then people believe, oh, then really, okay, this person is saying that, so then it must have some value. Or if you know somebody, or if you admire somebody and they are saying, like let's say your teacher is saying, or somebody, so then one will think, oh, then this must be a good thing, like that. So similarly, uh, if Bhagavad Gita, yeah, so Bhagavad Gita is no author, like Bhagavad Gita is authorized by Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, and some other famous people also like Gandhi, Einstein, Oppenheimer, and it is also famous as a yoga book. So now if you say, okay, Krishna consciousness philosophy is also based on Bhagavad Gita, so then they will think, okay, Krishna conscious philosophy also must be very authorized that way. Then also, Bhagavad Gita is very old, 5,000 years. So if Krishna consciousness philosophy is based on Bhagavad Gita, so then, yeah, this also must be very old and authentic. Yeah, like if you this doesn't seem so obvious. Okay, then Prabhupada is saying natural. So generally, natural product means there is no artificial manipulation. Like organic foods means there is no artificial ripening used or genetically modified seeds used or something. So even like, which means like the Bhagavad Gita philosophy is naturally it is given by God. It is not concocted by somebody. Like if somebody says that no, like the social philosophy is like no, you just observe your thoughts for some time, and then for some time you enjoy music, so then you enjoy dancing. So this is his Abhidheya, but there is no scriptural basis for it. So then that makes it that it is a concoction. Then Prabhupada is saying transcendental, so that is more or less like based on this verse. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshavagam Dharmyam Susukam Kartam Avyayam. So Pavitram and Uttamam and Avyayam. This refer to transcendental thing. Okay. Yes, Shrikant Pro, you can read.
It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially amongst the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and the grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life members of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that I have started the Krishna consciousness movement in America. But actually, the origin original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself. Since it was started a very long time ago, but it is coming down to human society by disciplic succession. If I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but it is due to my eternal spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnu Vishnupad Paramhans Parivrajakaचार्य Ashtottar Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada.
Yeah, so here Prabhupada is how transparent he is, like, because this philosophy is originally from Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna gave. So ideally, Krishna only has started this movement. So Prabhupada is attributing the success and the movement itself to Krishna only. Okay. Means this is not so common in the current spiritual leaders or in most of the spiritual leaders. They generally take credit for themselves, or at least they don't. They may say, but they will not. They will have hesitation to give the credit to God and the previous acharyas. Okay, now Prabhupada is speaking about like how Gita means, how Bhagavad Gita as it is like presenting the real meaning of Gita. Okay. Yes, Prabhu, you can read.
Right means of presenting Gita. If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is without any adulteration. Before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, almost all English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. But our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher, or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna, despite all their other knowledge. When Krishna says, Man manabhav mad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru, Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter 65th verse, etc., we, unlike the so-called scholars, do not say that the Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute. There is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara, disciplic succession. Generally, the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis, without perfect knowledge of Krishna, try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavad Hasya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men.
Yeah, so the will of Krishna is clear in Bhagavad Gita, that no sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja, or manmana bhava bhakto madhyaji mam namaskar. So there is no ambiguity in that. So if a true commentator of Bhagavad Gita means he should explain Bhagavad Gita according to that. Otherwise, if somebody is not explaining according to that, then it is a misinterpretation. So yeah, one more example, the speculator, we will see.
If you still have doubts, then you need to go to the Upanishads and know their basic philosophy and then ask, this particular shlok of Gita, how do I interpret it in line with the basic Vedantic philosophy? Even if you do not know the entire philosophy, you can depend on the four Mahavakyas or the most important 10 or 12 or 15 Vedantic verses.
So he has so many 2 million followers, and he's speaking on how we should not misinterpret Gita, and he himself is misinterpreting the Gita. Yes. So like this, there are people who are also very famous, popular, but they misinterpret. Did I keep it? I think I
Voice
have.
is breaking, so it's not coming.
Uh, I have some issue, but I am not going to speak lot. So even if you don't understand, even if you don't get it, it's okay. Yes, bro, you can continue.
Okay,
Lord Chaitanya clearly says.
Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go home back to Godhead.
Yeah, so there is Mukhya Vritti and Gauna Vritti. Mukhya Vritti we have discussed also previously. Mukhya Vritti means the direct meaning. So when the direct meaning is not clear, then only we have to go for the indirect meaning. Like for example, Devadatta is becoming fat, but Devadatta is not eating during daytime. So if there are two statements like this, so the direct meaning of these two statements are contradicting each other. So then we have to go for the indirect meaning. Okay, then Devadatta must be eating in the night. Yeah. Or if there is a no, he's living on Ganga. So it doesn't make sense that one cannot live on the river. So then it means that he's living on the bank of Ganga, not on Ganga, but on the bank of Ganga. Like that. So now Prabhupada told we should understand Gita in the right spirit, but how to do that? That Prabhupada is saying. Yes, you can continue.
Our only purpose is to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned students to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of Brahma or every 8.6 billion years. This purpose is stated in the Bhagavad Gita and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Sun God some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of the human society in fulfilling the mission of life.
Yeah, so what
Avajanand,
Prabhupada, no, this is not there. So the main thing is we have to accept Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. Then that will, then one can actually, and if one with that acceptance, if one reads and understands Gita, then he will present Gita as per the will of Krishna. Okay, so Prabhupada since told that if misunderstanding Krishna is a great offense. So as Krishna also tells in Gita, Avajananti Mam Muda, Manushim Tanumashita, Param Bhavam Ajananto, Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram. Or like Mogasha Moga Karmana, Moga Jnana Vichetasa, Rakshasi Masurim Cheva, Prakritim Mohinim Ashrita. So if somebody thinks Krishna as a human being and misunderstands his and ignores his transcendental attributes, so his desires will become spoiled and his activities also will become spoiled. His knowledge also will become degraded and he will go to lower species. Now, what is Prabhupada wants to accomplish by through Bhagavad Gita as it is that Prabhupada is speaking? Yes, Prabhupada.
the mission of Srila Prabhupada in presenting Gita. The Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society for it offers the highest perfection of life. How this is so is explained fully in the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demonic propensities and mislead the people regarding the right understanding of the simple principles of life. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great, and everyone should know the factual positioning of the living entities. Everyone should know that the living entity is eternally a servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion in different varieties of the three modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculators has to undergo this process. This knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it from his for his own interest.
Yeah, so Prabhupada wants every living entity to become aware of Maya and to, instead of engaging in service of Maya, to engage in the service of Krishna. So that is Prabhupada's mission in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is. Now, Prabhupada explains why he named it as it is. You can read.
People in general, especially in this age of Kali, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of the material comforts, every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or the external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. Instead, instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this and he demands it. One has to understand this central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for the practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive great benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success.
Yeah. So the Prabhupada is saying that instead of satisfying uh, his own personal material senses, one has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. This is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this and he demands it. So this is the central point of Bhagavad Gita. So because Krishna consciousness movement is also saying the same thing and explaining Bhagavad Gita from that perspective. So that's why uh, it is justified to name it as Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay. Yeah, means Prabhupada is also saying one should learn it properly and also teach others. Okay, so now introduction. Introduction in one sense, Prabhupada almost like summarizes the entire philosophy, entire knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, so that even if somebody may just take Bhagavad Gita and read initially, they will get the entire philosophy, they will understand it, even if they may not read the entire thing, entire all shlokas or something. So that's why Prabhupada has written this introduction. So some of you must be also have seen there is another small Prabhupada book of Introduction to Bhagavad Gita. So we will read some parts of the introduction. We cannot read it entirely. Okay. So here initially Prabhupada is stating giving the Mangalacharan prayers, which are to invoke auspiciousness, the general prayers which we do in the before class. Okay. So initially Prabhupada again is reiterating what is the right spirit of studying Gita. Yes, Prabhu, we can read the highlighted
Bhagavad
portion.
Gita. Okay, Prabhu. Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gitopnishad. It is the essence of the Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in the Vedic literature. Of course, course, there are many commentaries in English on Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessary for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English. But as far as I have seen, not only in America, but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Yeah. So this name Gita Upanishad is given by Shankaracharya. That's why Gita is called as Gita Upanishad. Yes, you can continue.
The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whims or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the direction on the label or the directions given by the physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself.
Okay. Yeah, so if medicine, if it has to be taken 3 times, it has to be taken 3 times. One should not think that okay, the medicine is bitter, so I will take only 1 time. Or if the medicine is sweet, one should not think, no, okay, let me take 5 to 6 times. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work like that. It will not solve the problem. Yeah. So yeah, since you can think around for some 2-3 minutes, and if you can come up with some shlokas which tell how to read Bhagavad Gita, means or how to understand Bhagavad Gita, some shlokas from Bhagavad Gita itself. Prabhupada also is going to give, but yeah. 3 minutes you can think and then we'll discuss. Okay, any shlokas about how to study Bhagavad Gita from Gita? Okay. Yes, Prabhu, you can tell.
4.34, Prabhuji.
4.34. What is the shloka?
Shloka, I don't remember properly, but I remember the name of the shloka. That
Okay, fine.
Pratip.
Tadvidhi pranipatena. Okay, good. Thank you. Next. Yes, Prabhu, Chetan, Prabhu.
Shrikant Prabhu had raised hand before me, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, same, very personally say.
Prabhu, there are 3 verses in particular in 15th chapter that say that there are two kinds of living beings, fallible and infallible, and above them there is the supreme being, Lord Shri Krishna. And so every interpretation of Bhagavad Gita must adhere to these basic principles.
Okay, yeah, fine. Yes, Shrikant Prabhu.
Prabhuji, it was same 4.30.
Okay, 4.34. Okay, fine. Yeah, there is also Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Raja Rishio Viduhu. And also Bhaktya Mama Vichanati Lavanyasmichas Tattata. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Prabhupada also will explain those in coming. Yes, Prabhu, you can now Prabhupada. So till now Prabhupada talked about the spirit of studying Bhagavad Gita. That it should be studied as per the directions given by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. So like medicine, the directions of a medicine is written on the medicine or it's given by the physician. Now Prabhupada says how Krishna is Bhagavan. Yes, you can read.
The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is Lord Shri Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod. And certainly, here Bhagavan designates Lord Shri Krishna as the great personality. But at the same time, we should know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all the great acharyas, spiritual masters like the Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbark Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of the Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord Himself also establishes Himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, and He is accepted as such in the Brahma Samhita and all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Bhagavad Puran. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is directed by the personality of Godhead Himself.
Yeah, like Prabhupada also mentioned here Shankaracharya because Shankaracharya also says Narayana Para Vyakta, and Shankaracharya also composed Jagannath Ashtakam, like these prayers also. So on that basis. And no, yes, Bhaja Govindam also he composed. So yeah, here now Prabhupada is saying the shlokas which tell about how to understand Bhagavad Gita. So now Prabhupada is explaining them. Yes, Prabhu, you can read. Hear the Lord.
Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the sun god, and the sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku, and in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, and this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating this supreme secret to him because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotees of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Jnanis, the Yogi, and the Bhakta, or the impersonalists, the meditators, and the devotees. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara, disciplic succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others. And it was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So, we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna, and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna's.
Yeah. So the focus is one should be a devotee of the Lord, like Arjuna, to understand Bhagavad Gita. So then Prabhupada goes on explaining like how one can have different types of relationships with the Lord in devotional service. The five rasas, and Arjuna is in Sakya ras, like that Prabhupada explains. Then he tells also that that relationship is called as Swarupa, and when one realizes that relationship, it is called as Swarupa Siddhi. It generally happens at Bhava stage. So these things you will study in NOI when you study. Then Prabhupada tells how uh, Arjuna accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param Brahma, Parandama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, Adidevam Ajam Vidam. He translates those verses. So because means Prabhupada means to say that Arjuna accepted Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then on that basis he accepted whatever Krishna spoke in Bhagavad Gita. So similarly, we also should accept Krishna as Supreme Lord, become his devotee, and accept the message of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, yes, you can continue. Arjuna also says.
Arjuna also says that the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand and that he cannot be known even by the great demigods. This means that the Lord cannot even be known by the personalities greater than human beings. So, how can a human being understand Lord Krishna without becoming his devotee?
So that's why there should be a spirit of devotion. Yeah, so now Prabhupada is saying at least we should theoretically accept the statements of Krishna. Then slowly we will realize those things. So first comes theoretical acceptance. That is, you can call it as the stage of sambandha. Then one will practice the process of bhakti. So that is abhideya. So initially we hear from devotees and also read from Prabhupada books and try to at least logically understand, no, what exactly means, no, we are not the body, we are spirit, soul means. Uh, so then maybe it may take for different 5 years, 10 years. So then we understand at least the basic philosophy. So what is bhakti process, all these things we understand, who is Krishna. So these things become somewhat clear. So then one practices the process, the nine process of devotional service, chanting, hearing, serving devotees and all. Then slowly, as time progresses, one will realize that Krishna, like two instances, like Prabhupada replied, uh, like Prabhupada only questioned the devotees, uh, how do you say Krishna is God? So Prabhupada replied to gave two different replies in two different instances. So once Prabhupada told, because Bhagavad Gita says Krishna is God, so we accept Krishna as God. So then another time he said, if you chant Hare Krishna, you will realize that Krishna is God. So that Prabhupada is speaking about. Initially, Prabhupada is speaking about sambandha, like studying Bhagavad Gita and understanding Krishna, theoretically understanding Krishna as God. Then the second instance, Prabhupada is saying, if you chant Hare Krishna, you'll become purified, you'll become Krishna conscious. Then you'll naturally realize Krishna is God. Okay. Now again, Prabhupada is saying about the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Yes, Prabhupada can read.
Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non existence. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or other we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about their position. as to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he does not want suffering, but rather wants to make a solution to all the sufferings, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind.
So the purpose of Bhagavad Gita means so to make people realize that the material world is suffering, but their original position is to be Satchidananda. So one has to inquire and learn these truths and take to the process of spirituality or yoga by which they can attain their natural state. So that is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada tells about Athato Brahma Jigyasa, and so he's telling Lord Krishna descends specifically to re-establish the real purpose of life when man forgets that purpose. Then he was telling that how to teach us that Arjuna was put into ignorance, so that Lord could explain all these truths to the future generations. Okay, now Prabhupada is talking about the 5 subject matters of Gita. This is given by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan in the introduction to his commentary, Gita Bhushan. So Prabhupada is explaining that only. Yes, Prabhu, you can continue the subject
So,
only.
the subject of the Bhagavad Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. First of all, the science of God is explained, and then the constitutional position of the living entities, jivas. There is Ishvara, which means the controller, and there are jivas, the living entities which are controlled. If the living entity says that he is not controlled, but that he is free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every aspect, at least in his conditioned life. So, in this Bhagavad Gita, the subject matter deals with the Ishvara, the supreme controller, and the Jivas, the controlled living entities. Prakriti, material nature, and time, the duration of the existence of the whole universe or the manifestation of the material world, and karma, that is activity, are also discussed. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities.
Okay, yeah. So Ishvara is the supreme controller and Jivas are the controlled living entities. So like about Ishvara, we will learn in 7th chapter, 9th chapter and 10th chapter. About the Jiva, we will here learn in 2nd chapter. And about Prakriti, we will learn in 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga, 7th chapter, Energies of the Lord, and 9th chapter also. About Kala, we will learn in 8th chapter. Then about karma, we'll learn in 3rd chapter and 4th chapter of Karma Yoga. Okay, you can continue Ishvara and Jiva.
Ishvara and Jiva. Out of these 5 basic subject matters in Bhagavad Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead or Krishna or Brahman or the Supreme Controller or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over the universal affairs of material nature, as will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. The material nature is not independent. She is acting under the directions of the Supreme Lord. As Lord Krishna says, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. This material nature is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation, there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled.
Yeah. So again, Prabhupada is reiterating that how Krishna is the supreme controller, or it can also may refer to Brahman, or Paramatma is the supreme controller, and the Jivas are controlled through material nature by Bhagavan. Then he's giving further explaining it by giving an analogy like the child may not realize, may think that he's independent, but someone can easily see that yeah, the child may see some automobile and may think it is running independently, but another person can think that it is controlled by a driver and machines and all. So similarly, the jiva may think himself independent, but a knowledgeable jiva can understand how he is controlled by the nature and all. And then Prabhupada is explaining the achintya beda relation between jiva and Bhagavan, that the jivas also, yeah, they are qualitatively same but not quantitatively different. So example of a gold, a particle of gold and a entire gold mine, or a drop of water and the ocean, both are salty. So like that, qualitatively there is oneness.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Here we can take the example of sparks of fire and fire also, no?
Yeah, we can take. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, bro, you can continue Prakriti, about Prakriti.
What is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as inferior Prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity is explained as the superior Prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female and she is controlled by the Lord, just as the activities of the wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and the material nature are both predominated, controlled by the Supreme Lord. According to the Gita, the living entities, although part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Apareyam itastva anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam. This material nature is my inferior Prakriti, but beyond this is another Prakriti, jiva bhutam, the living entity. Material nature itself is constituted by three qualities: the modes of goodness, the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance.
Yes. So material nature is Prakriti is inferior energy of the Lord, and the jivas are superior energy of the Lord, but both are energies of the Lord. And the Prakriti consists of the three modes of material nature. Okay, now Kala and Karma. Prabhupada is explaining.
Above these modes, there is eternal time, and by combination of these modes of nature and under the control and purview of the eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities.
Okay, yeah. So Prabhupada till now has explained all the five subject matters of Bhagavad Gita: Ishwar and Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. So now Prabhupada is explaining the conception of Prakriti, which is different between Advaitavad or Mayavad and Vaishnavism. So he tells, like he explains that how the Advaitavadis, they say that Prakriti is false, like Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. So like that. But according to Vaishnavas, Prakriti is an eternal energy of the Lord, but its manifestation is temporary. So like at the time of Pralaya, the whole material world is annihilated. So that way it is temporary. It is not false. Yeah, the manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. So that's why Krishna tells it is my Prakriti. My Prakriti means it's my energy, means it's not false. No? If something is false, Krishna will not say that this is my energy. Krishna always will tell truth. Okay, you can read. However, the other item karma.
However, the other item karma is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we can change the result of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita.
So yeah, like in Upanishad we studied vikarma, karma, and karma. So if somebody performs akarma, so then all his karmic reactions, pious, impious, will get purified. And if one perfects his life, then whole karma is removed. So in that way, karma is temporary. Okay. Now here Prabhupada is explaining about how Ishvara and Jiva are not same. Ishvara is Vibhu and Jiva is Anu. So consciousness wise also like yeah, like Jiva, the Krishna is supremely conscious. He's conscious of everything in the world. But the consciousness of Jiva is limited. He's only conscious of his body and some few things around him. Yeah, so both are Kshetragya. Kshetragya means they are the knower of field. The Jiva is knower of the field, which is its body. But but Paramatma also is Kshetragya, but he is a supreme Kshetragya. He's knower of all the things. So that way, Ishvara has supreme consciousness, Jiva has infinitesimal consciousness, but and the Prakriti has no consciousness. Prakriti is dead. Yeah. Okay, now he's explaining about how Krishna is supremely conscious of everything. Yes, bro, you
It
can.
is, it is not that the consciousness is generated by the association of matter. That is a mistaken idea. The theory that the consciousness develops under the certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita. Consciousness may be pervertedly reflected by the covering of the material circumstances, just as the light reflected through the colored glass may appear to be a certain color. But the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Maya Dhyakshena Prakriti in Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter 10th verse. When he descends into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on the transcendental matters as he does in the Bhagavad Gita. One cannot say anything about the transcendental world without being free from the materially contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, consciousness is a property of the soul, Jiva. It is not the property of the body. It is not a result of combination of chemicals. So there is a scientific phenomena called as qualia. We'll discuss it in the second chapter. So which also proves that you cannot, matter cannot produce consciousness. Means which also scientists accept. Yeah. So the consciousness, when it is in the material realm, it appears that it is coming from matter, but it is there because of the presence of the soul. So Prabhupada gave the example of light. When light flows through color paper, it becomes a color light like that. Yeah, you can read in pure consciousness.
In pure consciousness, our actions will be doubted to the will of Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all the activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated.
So then what is contaminated consciousness? How the contaminated consciousness becomes, uh, how the consciousness gets contaminated, properly explained. You can read false.
False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am the product of material nature. That is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of the bodily conceptions cannot understand his situation. Bhagavad Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from the bodily conception of life, that is the preliminary activity for a transcendentalist. One, one who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body.
Yeah. So basically, because of false ego, the consciousness will get contaminated. So basically, the Atma is seeking happiness. So based on the identity, what he identifies, he tries to seek happiness through that. So if he identifies himself as body, then he tries to enjoy through body. So he tries to enjoy through his senses, and also like that, he gets entangled. So he gets more and more decides to enjoy body in more and more different ways, through eyes, through ears, through nose, and in different ways. He wants to see opposite sex. Maybe he wants to see movies. He wants to see good play different places of the world. So like that, the consciousness, that material desires multiply, and the consciousness gets contaminated. So the real liberation means purification of consciousness, not annihilating the consciousness, but proposing purification of consciousness. So Bhagavad Gita is also, the goal is to purify and awaken the pure consciousness, to remove the contamination of the consciousness, and awaken the purity in consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance to the instructions of the Lord. This is the sum and substance of purified consciousness. Yes, bro, you can read in contaminated consciousness.
In contaminated consciousness, I am means that I am the Lord of all I survey. I am the enjoyer. The world revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and the creator of the material world. Material consciousness has two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and the other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually, the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer, and the living entity being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord is neither the creator nor the enjoyer, but a cooperator.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if the whole world is revolving because people have material desires, that's why people want to work, or people want sense gratification, so they want to produce so many goods. And some people want to work, earn money, and purchase that sense gratification, so they work in different companies. So people produce goods for sense gratification, and because by that they earn money and they purchase sense gratification again. So one produces some product, and with the money he purchases another product. So another person gets the money and he purchases another product. So like that. So the whole material world is there because of this false consciousness. So if everyone comes to this consciousness of being a cooperative to the enjoyment of Lord, so then a lot of material world, in one sense, gets stopped, and everyone may want to go to forest and live a natural life and just want to chant here. Yeah. Yeah, now Prabhupada is explaining the same thing, the cooperation. Now Prabhupada is explaining that cooperation principle. So Prabhupada is explaining through the analogy of the machine and stomach. In machine also, if all parts should function together, uh, so that the machine will function properly, all parts should do their jobs, so that machine will totally function as a proper unit. If the parts revolt, they only get lost, means they get separated. Similarly, stomach. If all the organs of the body cooperate with the stomach, then all the organs can get nourished from the stomach. If they revolt, then they only suffer. Similarly, all the jivas should cooperate with the Supreme Lord so that they also can become happy by offering happiness to the Lord. Otherwise, they only suffer. It's not Lord's happiness will stop. Lord is Atmaram. Yeah, now Prabhupada is explaining how impersonal Brahman is subordinate to the Supreme Person. I think, yes, but you can read from beginning, it is also explained. No need.
It is also explained in Gita that impersonal Brahman is also subordinate to the complete Supreme Person, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Brahman is more explicitly explained in the Brahma Sutra to be like the rays of the sunshine. The impersonal Brahman is the shining rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman is incomplete realization of the absolute whole, and so also is the conception of Paramatma. In the 15th chapter, it shall be seen that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama, is above both the impersonal Brahman and the partial realization of Paramatma.
Read. The Supreme.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Satchitananda Vigraha. The Brahma Samhita begins in this way. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Govinda, Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause and he is the very form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Impersonal Brahman realization is the realization of his Sat feature, that is eternity. Paramatma realization is realization of Sat Chit, eternal and knowledge. But the realization of personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the realization of all the transcendental features, Sat Chit and Ananda, eternity, knowledge and bliss, in complete Vigraha, that is form. People with less intelligence consider the Supreme Truth to be impersonal, but he is a transcendental person, and this is confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam, Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. As we are all individual living beings and have our individuality, the Supreme Absolute Truth is also, in the ultimate issue, a person. The realization of personality of Godhead is realization of all the transcendental features in his complete form. The complete whole is not formless. If he is formless or if he is less than any other thing, then he cannot be the complete whole. The complete whole must have everything within our experience and beyond our experience. Otherwise, it cannot be complete.
Yeah. So Prabhupada is explaining how Bhagavan feature is superior to Brahman and Paramatma. We studied this also in Ishopanishad, that Bhagavad Gita also says Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Krishna says. So in that way, Bhagavan is superior to Brahman, and Bhagavan has all the qualities of Sat Chit and Ananda. In Brahman, only Sat is there. In Paramatma, Sat and Chit are there. And Bhagavan, all Sat Chit Ananda, all are there. And yeah. Again, see, we think that form means there is limitation, because in material world, if something has a form, then it has limitation. Like there is a, yeah. But so we think that spiritual things also have form, then they are limited. But because it is a spiritual form, it can be unlimited. So spiritual form can be unlimited. So their form may not define limitedness, may not imply something is limited. If in spiritual realm, if something has a form, it need not imply that it is limited. But in material realm, if something has a form, which means it is limited. So we should not superimpose the material conception on the spiritual things. So yeah. Okay, you can continue the complete one.
The complete whole personality of Godhead has immense potencies. Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 13.65 purport. How Krishna is acting in different potencies is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. This phenomenal world or the material world in which we are placed is also complete in itself because the 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation, according to the Sankhya philosophy, are completely adjusted to produce the complete resource which are necessary for the maintenance and sustenance of this universe. There is nothing extraneous, nor is there anything needed. This manifestation has its own time fixed by the energy of the Supreme Whole, and when its time is complete, these temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete. There is complete facility for the small complete units, namely the living entities, to realize the complete, and all sorts of incompleteness are experienced due to the incomplete knowledge of the complete. So Bhagavad Gita contains the complete knowledge of Vedic wisdom. Which this is exactly from Ishopanishad, right?
Yeah, exactly. Good. So that is the translation Prabhupada has given. There is complete facility for the to realize the complete. Yeah. So Prabhupada is speaking about the completeness of this universe. Okay. Yeah, I can continue. Prabhupada is explaining again how Bhagavad Gita is perfect about Shabda Praman and all that. Yes.
All Vedic knowledge is infallible, and Hindus accept the Vedic knowledge to be complete and infallible. For example, the cow dung is the stool of an animal, and according to Smriti or Vedic injunction, if one touches the stool of an animal, he has to take a bath to purify himself. But in the Vedic scriptures, cow dung is considered to be the purifying agent. One might consider this to be contradictory, but it is accepted because it is a Vedic injunction. And indeed, by accepting this, one will not commit a mistake. Subsequently, it has to be proved by modern science that cow dung contains all antiseptic properties. So, Vedic knowledge is complete because it is above all doubts and mistakes. And Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is not a question of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses. We have to accept the perfect knowledge which comes down as is stated in Bhagavad Gita, by the parampara, disciplic succession. We have to receive the knowledge from the proper source in disciplic succession, beginning with the supreme spiritual master, the Lord Himself, and handed down to a succession of spiritual masters.
Yeah. So we studied and again in Ishopanishad introduction also Prabhupada tells about how Pratyaksha Praman is defective and how Anuman Praman is also defective. The four defects, the imperfect senses, the tendency to commit mistakes, the tendency to get illusion, and the tendency to get cheat. So all these are there both in Pratyaksha and Anuman Praman. So that's why they are defective. So that's why Shabda Praman, and especially about metaphysical things like no, what is the purpose of the universe and how the universe originated. So these things one cannot research through the scientific apparatus and scientific experiments. This one should learn through the creator, from the creator only. And this is a deductive knowledge, Vedas are. So it saves time also. Yeah. Yes, bro, you can continue. Arjuna, the student who took.
Arjuna, the student who took lessons from Lord Krishna, accepts everything that he says without contradicting him. One is not allowed to accept one portion of Bhagavad Gita and not another. No, we must accept Bhagavad Gita without interpretation, without deletion, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter. The Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is received from transcendental sources, and the first two words were spoken by the Lord Himself. The words spoken by the Lord are called apaurushaya, meaning that they are different from the words spoken by a person of mundane world who is infected with the four defects. A mundaner is sure to commit mistakes, is invariably illusioned, has tendency to cheat others, and is limited by imperfect senses. With these four imperfections, one cannot deliver perfect information of all pervading knowledge.
Yeah, so just a minute. So, yeah, we have to accept the entire thing of Bhagavad Gita. if we have some different understanding, or if we are not able to accept something, then we can always approach the spiritual teacher, spiritual master, and discuss and try to resolve our doubts and correct our opinions. And yeah, we may understand, but we may not be able to practice it immediately. So that is okay. But just because we are not able to practice it, or we don't want to practice it, we should not try to misinterpret it, or to suit to our needs. That is not proper. Yes, bro. Last, Vedic.
Vedic knowledge is not imparted by such defective living entities. It was imparted unto the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples as he originally received it from the Lord. The Lord is Purnam, all perfect, and there is no possibility of his becoming subjected to the laws of material nature. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that the Lord is the only proprietor of living everything in the universe, and that he is the original creator, the creator of Brahma. In the 11th chapter, the Lord is addressed as Prapitamaha. Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, 39th verse. Because Brahma is addressed as Pitamaha and the grandfather, and he is the creator of the grandfather. So no one should claim to be the proprietor of anything. One should accept only things which are set aside for him by the Lord as his quota for his maintenance. There are many examples given of how we are to utilize those things which are set aside for us by the Lord. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. So, purpose, yes, the stress is so Lord is the supreme controller and supreme Lord. Krishna, the supreme Lord, is perfect. So, what he spoke, the message of Bhagavad Gita is also perfect. And we should accept it and follow it. So, following it is the Ishavasya principle also. Okay. Yeah, you can read the context of Bhagavad Gita.
The context of Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, Arjuna decided that he should not fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. This was his own decision. Arjuna told the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsman. This decision was based on the body, because he was thinking that body was himself and that his bodily relations or the expansions were his brothers, nephews, brother-in-laws, grandfathers, and so on. Therefore, he wanted to satisfy his bodily demands. Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord just to change this view. And at the end, Arjuna decides to fight under the direction of the Lord when he says, Karishye Vachanam Tava. Bhagavad Gita 18.73. I shall act according to your word.
Okay. Let me just see how long is this. Okay, we'll continue. We'll complete this also. Yes, you can read. Now Prabhupada is talking about spiritual world and the concept of Sanatana Dharma. Yes.
In this world, men are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. Men must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like ordinary animals. A human being should realize the aim of his life, and this direction is given in all Vedic literatures, and the essence is given in the Bhagavad Gita. Vedic literature is meant for human beings, not for animals. Animals can kill other living animals, and there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to the different modes of nature: the activities of goodness, of passion, and of ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables also: eatables in goodness, passion, and ignorance. All of this is clearly described, and if we properly utilize the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified. And ultimately, we will be able to reach the destination which is beyond this material sky. Yad gatvan anivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Bhagavad Gita 15.6. That destination is called Sanatan sky, the eternal spiritual sky. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. That is the law of the material world. Whether we use as an example this body or a piece of a fruit or anything. But beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have information. That world consists of another nature, which is Sanatan, eternal. Jiva is also described as Sanatan, eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatan in the 11th chapter. We have an intimate relationship with the Lord, and because we are qualitatively one, the Sanatan Dham or sky, the Sanatan Supreme Personality, and the Sanatan living entities, the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatan occupation or Sanatan Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are temporarily engaged in different activities, but all of these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Lord. That is called our pure life.
You can continue.
Okay. The Supreme Lord and his transcendental abode are both Sanatan, as are the living entities, and the combined association of the Supreme Lord and the living entities in the Sanatan abode is the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to his living entities because they are his sons. Lord Krishna declares in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Yonishu Aham Bija Pradapita. I am the father of all. Of course, there are all types of living entities according to their various karmas. But here the Lord claims that He is the Father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to reclaim all of these fallen conditioned souls, to call them back to the Sanatan eternal sky, so that the Sanatan living entities may regain their eternal Sanatan position in the eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes Himself in different incarnations, or He sends His confidential servants as sons or his associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls.
Yeah,
Therefore,
so just a minute, just reverse. So till now, Prabhupada is saying that how the living entities in a material world, it is material world consists of the three modes. So if the living entity follows the message of Bhagavad Gita, then he can transcend the three modes and he can go to the spiritual world. The spiritual world is eternal, which is also called Sanatan. The living entities are also called eternal. That's why they are also called Sanatan. The Supreme Lord is also called eternal Sanatan. So if one goes to the spirit Sanatan, then he can revive his Sanatan nature, which is the service of the Sanatan Lord. So that process is only called as Sanatana Dharma. So Lord is father of all types of living entities, and so Lord descends also to this world as different incarnations, or he sends his different associates and acharyas to teach this Sanatan Dharma, so that the people, so the jivas can take to their eternal relationship with the Lord. Yes, you can. Yeah, therefore, Sanatan Dharma does not refer to.
therefore, Sanatan Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. It is the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. Sanatan Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Sripad Ramanujacharya has explained the word Sanatan as that which has neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatan Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. The English word religion is a little different from Sanatan Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatan Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed.
Yeah.
For
So the proper defined what is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal function of the eternal entity in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord. So Hindu is not an appropriate thing. Hinduism again refers to a faith, but Sanatan Dharma is a more appropriate word to be used. Because of this, devotees using it now, even some other Hindus are also beginning to use this word Sanatan Dharma. Okay, so that word Hindu, because the river Indus is there, is a boundary between Pakistan and Sindh and India. So the 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 Indian part of the river on the side of the river which is India is falling, they call it as Hindustan, or the people in that part they are called as Hindus. So that way the term came. So that doesn't actually refer to Sanatan Dharma. Okay. For instance, liquidity.
For instance, the liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can the heat be taken from fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatan Dharma is eternally integral with the living entity. And when we speak of Sanatan Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripad Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither beginning and that which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, for it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatan Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of the modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatan Dharma is the business of all the people in the world, nay, of all the living entities of the universe. Non Sanatan religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, but there is no beginning to the history of the Sanatan Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. In the Gita, it is stated that living entity is never born and he never dies. He is eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his temporarily material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatan Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with a particular object. We conclude that there is heat and light along with the fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning to the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal religion.
So Sanatan Dharma means it is a constitutional nature of the living entity. It's not something temporary. Prabhupada gave the analogy of water and also fire, sugar also, sweetness. Prabhupada also gives this example of sugar, sweetness. Sweetness is an inseparable part of sugar. It's not something that is artificial, it is an inherent quality. Similarly, the Sanatana Dharma, Prabhupada says, is an inherent quality of the spirit soul. So that's why sometimes Prabhupada, if some are very serious Christians, Prabhupada used to say, you become a better Christian and become better lover of Christ. Instead of, he doesn't, Prabhupada used to avoid telling them to chant Hare Krishna and convert or join ISKCON, those things. He tells, Prabhupada used to encourage them to chant the names of Christ and become a better lover of Christ. So he used to argue, if you love Christ, why you are not following the commandment of Christ, thou shalt not kill, like that Prabhupada used to encourage them to become more obedient to Christ and all. Because it is ultimately Sanatana Dharma. So, okay, so any questions on what we discussed or what we have read? Okay, so I hope no questions. So we'll continue from tomorrow. This thing, I'll try to sort out the problem. I changed two headsets, but it is not working. But I'll try to sort out tomorrow. Okay, thank you for your patience. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Tanat.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Dandat pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat, Prabhuji.